Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming this evening. And again, with a crowd like this, we're going to have plenty of opportunity to have a nice conversation this evening. I'm Michael Alvarez. I'm a professor here at Caltech, and I'm the co-director of the Ronald and Maxine Linde Center for Science, Society, and Policy, which I'm just going to call LCSSP from here on out because it is a bit of a mouthful. I'd like to welcome everyone to this evening's event, the Southern California Wildfires and Water Quality, Science Meets Policy. This event's co-sponsored by our center, LCSSP, by the Linde Center for Global Environmental Science, and by the Resnick Sustainability Institute. Since our center's founding in 2023, we've focused on providing forums for research and discussion of topics at the intersection of science and society. Our goals are to help to shape science policy by building on Caltech's scientific expertise and to build and foster connections between scientists, policymakers, and regulators. One of the important areas of our activities has been in the realm of climate and sustainability science. We've developed quite a few initiatives in this area, in particular with the focus on water quality, which we'll talk about this evening. When the wildfires broke out on January 7th, for many of us, and certainly myself included, quality of water was not top of mind. But it quickly became clear that evening and in the days that followed that the fires had possibly damaged critical water infrastructure and had most likely contaminated some of the local water supplies. So tonight's event is designed to bring our scientists together with policymakers to discuss how water quality was impacted by the wildfires earlier this year, to talk about what quick steps were taken at the time to understand those impacts, to mitigate and to resolve them, and to talk also about how scientists and policymakers can work together collaboratively now and in the future to continue to understand how we can make our critical infrastructure more resilient in the face of these types of severe weather events, natural disasters, and of course, longer-term significant climate change. But before we start, I have the great opportunity to walk you through some of the required logistical details. First off, we are going to be using an app which Andy will talk about in a minute for Q&A. So if you're not familiar with Caltech's Wi-Fi system, here's a quick chance to get on. Use the Caltech visitor, enter a username and password, click join, and just click on the security certificate. You can also hit that QR code right there if you want. I'll wait a sec just to give folks an opportunity to get all that info. And then the other announcement I need to make, of course, is that we are in an area that is prone to earthquakes. So if we do start to hear shaking, and if everybody's phone in the room starts to go off with an earthquake warning, please try to protect yourself using the usual drop, cover, and hold on. There are restrooms available if you go back up and go downstairs, one level below the mezzanine. And there's an ADA restroom down on the first floor in the lobby area. I also need to remind folks about our statement of ethical conduct in these kinds of public forums. We do want to have an open and honest conversation, as is the norm here at Caltech, but we also do want to remind folks to be respectful of others and to generally obey the principles of our code of conduct here at Caltech. Finally, this event's being recorded. The recording is going to be available on the LCSSP YouTube channel after the event. Easy to find. You can go on our website or you can just search on YouTube or search online. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Professor Andrew Thompson, one of my colleagues here at Caltech. He's the John S. and Sherry Chen Professor of Environmental Science and Engineering. He's the director of the Ronald and Maxine Linde Center for Global Environmental Science, which is another Linde Center on campus. And he's the executive officer for environmental science. Professor Thompson is going to moderate tonight's discussion. He will introduce our distinguished participants, and he will work through the Q&A. So thank you for coming this evening.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike, and it's really nice that we could bring the two Linde centers together for this event. So as Mike mentioned, my name is Andy Thompson. I am the director of the Linde Center for Global Environmental Science, and as the name suggests, a lot of the work in our department is looking at global problems, but I think the importance of our research really comes home when you have local events like the one we had this winter. And so I was just been really impressed by seeing a number of the people through the ESE department, the Linde Center, the GPS division, and across Caltech as a whole, to really put down a lot of the work that they're doing and turn their attention to learning more about the fire, what happened during the events, and how we're going to have a safe recovery from that. A lot of that work has been shared with the community through the Caltech Science Exchange. We have had webinars on soil quality. We have had a webinar on air quality. We have a little bit less expertise today at Caltech, although this was a really important part of our ESE program for a long time, on water quality. And so we were very excited that we could bring not only our own expertise in Hannah, but also two external speakers to come today. So it is my pleasure to introduce Stacie Takeguchi, Andy Whelton, and Hannah Druckenmiller. I'm going to introduce them. I'm going to give them a few minutes to talk a little bit about their background and their research, and then we're going to shift over to a couple discussion topics. And as Mike said, we're very happy to take questions along the way. So we'll put the Slido back up here. The way this will work is that you can use that QR code. You can go onto Slido. Sarah Kassier is very kindly moderating the questions for us, and she'll pass them along up here. We are a small group. We also have a microphone over here. So if at some point you'd like to just put your hand up and ask a question, we can handle that as well.